Well, hello, and thank you very much for clicking on this video today. So, this is a story since the energy price cap is going up. There's numerous reports coming out about how the massive increase in electricity prices, how it's causing such substantial increasing poverty, basically, in the UK. And this is an article coming from the Independent, a good one, I have to say. So let's delve into it. So, a third of UK adults are in debt to their energy firm or worried about falling behind, ahead of a 13% jump in the price cap from July. So, the poll conducted by the End Fuel Poverty Coalition found the figure rises to 45% for parents with children under 18 and 35% for disabled people. Among those who are in energy debt, the median amount owed to an energy supplier was £750, and worryingly, 13% of those who are in debt or concerned about missing their payments owed money to, and I quote, someone who makes them feel scared, rising to 24% among those who are already in arrears. And desperate measures have been taken by those who are in energy debt. 32% tried using less electricity by turning off heating or taking shorter showers, with 25% kept their homes at uncomfortable temperatures and 21% missed rent or mortgage payments. More than 1 in 5, so 21%, skipped meals, while 18% turned to a food bank or to support to cope with costs or arrears. And this is one thing that always kind of bugs me. Our energy, quote-unquote, industry is a sham. It was since energy was denationalised. People said eventually this is what will happen. The energy companies, it's a cartel. There is no competition between the energy companies. They have been caught colluding in the past about agreeing amongst themselves, yet we'll put energy prices up by so much. And unfortunately, Ofgem, the regulator, is completely in the hands of the energy companies themselves. Many of the heads of Ofgem have worked in the energy industry. They're not independent at all. Now, let's continue with this. So, the Fuel Poverty Coalition found supplier support for struggling households has been, and I quote, mixed. And while 15% of those in arrears have been referred to a hardship fund and 15% were on a repayment plan, 13% reported having no contact from the supplier in the past 12 months. Less than 1 in 5, so 18% of those in arrears, felt they had been treated fairly by their supplier, and just 8% had been referred to debt advice. So Simon Francis, the co-coordinator of the End the Fuel Poverty Coalition, condemns the situation, saying, "These figures lay bare the true cost of years of failure to fix energy debt caused by sharp increases in bills. Millions of people are in debt to their energy company or are worried about falling behind, and yet prices shock profiteers are posting billions in profits." And he added, "The figures also show this is a can't-pay crisis, not a won't-pay one. Very few people who are in energy debt are also in high-earning households. Instead, it is ordinary people who are skipping meals, visiting food banks, and most alarmingly resorting to risky forms of borrowing just to keep the lights on. The energy industry, which has caused this debt through its profiteering, must be made to contribute to clearing this debt mountain." And that's kind of the important point. There's only so much that you can do to limit the amount of energy that you use. Like, you need to wash your clothes. You need to wash yourself. Like, you need to cook stuff. You know, like, yes, you can reduce electricity, but only to a certain degree. So this constant thing that I hear from energy companies of using off-peak times and saving electricity. It's like, oh yeah, like no one has thought of that. No, I'm just sat here with my lights on. Every electronic device in the entire planet is switched on. I've just sat here, and I never once thought about maybe turning some of it off. It's just distractions and diversions from the real issue, which is profiteering by the energy companies themselves. And to carry on with this, the chief executive of the Centre for Sustainable Energy said, at the Centre for Sustainable Energy, we speak to everyday people who are struggling to keep up with their energy bills, not because they won't pay, but because they can't. And they urged the long-awaited energy debt relief scheme must be brought forward urgently, and people in debt need access to proper debt advice, not just a letter from their supplier. But debt relief alone is a sticking plaster. The real fix is reducing the amount of energy households use in the first place through proper investment in energy efficiency and phasing out gas. Until we address that, we'll be having the same conversation next winter. And the survey was conducted by Opinium between the 29th of May and the 1st of June, polled about 2,000 adults. Of these, 9% were behind on their payments to the energy supplier, with a further 22%, which equates to approximately 12 million people, expressing worry about falling into arrears. So the real issue here is that it needs to be nationalised. We just try and dance around the issue by coming up with, really kind of hard mentions of, oh, well, maybe if we just didn't use as much electricity, then that would somehow make it better, even though all the energy companies are massively increasing their prices. So how do you get out of that? And a common misdirection, especially from the right and far right, is to say, well, it's green energy that's causing the problems. If we all just used gas and coal, then this wouldn't be an issue, even though the actual price of generating green electricity has fallen over the years as the technology itself has developed. Even if we did do that and went completely back to fossil fuels, the same problem would still be happening, because the issue is the profiteering from the companies. It doesn't really matter what type of electricity you use, whether it's cheaper to produce or not cheaper to produce. At the end of the day, if the company doesn't reduce their prices, it doesn't matter. What everyone is kind of not wanting to admit is denationalising the energy sector was a bad idea under Margaret Thatcher, as a lot of, kind of like Ronald Reagan, a lot of bad ideas go back to Margaret Thatcher when it comes to the denationalisation of electricity, water, deregulation of the financial industry, things like that. Go back to her, because it's a racket and people have just jumped onto the racket. Private equity has just jumped in, big finances have jumped in, and they're all raking massive amount of profit from it, whilst everyone else has just been routinely screwed over. So these figures are not to be surprising, and they will continue to get worse, whilst our current political establishment basically just dances around the issue. But anyway, thank you very much for listening to this video today, and I hope you have a good day. So take care wherever you are.